Well, Content warning. Following show contains a little bit of potty mouth language. Some historically sensitive topics. Some folks might be like, and possible discussions of fictitious violence. Your discretion might be advised, but I say you don't go too far past PG 13. Haha, yeah. What was that? I thought I just. Anyway, maybe you should start the music? Yeah. Hey everybody, how's it going out there? I am Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer. That's right, I do sorcery inside of cinemas, but whatever that means. And welcome to the dark side of the room. This is the show that oh my god, my microphone spell is just being all weird. This is the show where we talk about games and life. Do you know anything about life, Lisa? And of course, all the things about making communities and being part of communities that I find important. But what do I know? I'm just a 46-year-old nerd that's gone through the blood, sweat, and tears of being a nerd for a long time. Back in the days where it came with physical violence and abduction and maybe using a funny and fictitious voice, but everything I'm saying is actually real in catalog. So yeah, that. So thank you guys for joining me today. I really, really, really debated on whether or not I was going to do the show today. There's something going on. I seem like low. I'm like, whoa, yeah. I'm like really, really low in the frame. I don't know about that. How that or that. Oh, that's why. All right, yeah, that could explain why I'm just so low in the frame, so low. That actually explains it too. I'm gonna make myself just a little bit bigger. Oh, look at that! There we go. Here I am. All right, that feels a lot better. All right, a lot better. I'm like, God, why does it look like I got so little head? But yeah, so we are going to be talking about a couple of different things. It's been a weird weekend, a very, very, very weird week. And it got me thinking about a lot. It got me writing a lot. And I figured I'd bring some of those thoughts and some of those findings to you. This is for my overseas audience, so there you go. But also, on top of all of that jazz, I want to say hello to everyone that's there. Wait, live chat? No, live chat. Who's in the live chat? All right. So yeah, I gave some thought to a whole bunch of things, but I love that my comment section right here is going off as much as it does. Major shout out to you guys. Thank you for being here. Looks like there's a Lord of the Rings discussion happening there, which is always fun because something has changed. I feel it in the water. But if you guys got any questions or anything along those lines, hit me up at backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDCEK@gmail.com. You can reach out to me on Twitter. Now, somebody has been reaching out to me on Instagram for like the past 10 minutes, so I'm gonna just look that up real quick. It's like, yeah, I sent pictures, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And why are you reaching out to me now? I'm about to go live. And of course, some of y'all actually got a little bit of a preview by tuning in early. You probably got the announcement on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and all those other places that I am registered to talk about and all of that jazz. Major shouts out to the people that are watching me right now on the YouTube. What's going on, guys? I really appreciate that you are there. I'm not quite sure which conversation thing that all this came out. So, and also, if you were like me, and that is middle-aged and confused by all these different social and the medias and all that stuff, you can totally. Oh, okay, all right, there we go. Yeah, you can totally hit me up over on Deckers on the Book. That's the Facebook group that we joined. So, now that I know who it was that sent me a letter, I did not have a chance to check. Well, I looked up the Dune stuff. Okay, I looked up the Dune stuff, but I didn't order it because one of the things that was there just looked like an expansion. And I'm like, what? What do I got on that? I'm not quite sure. Is this an expansion? Do I need the core book or anything like that? And then a bunch of stuff popped out, but I ain't forgotten about you. And I'm again, this I believe that was Ninja. Ninjef, that's right. Ninjef was reaching out. So yeah, that is the big thing. That right there. So, what is it that we gonna be getting into? Well, I'm glad because we gonna be getting into a lot of stuff. A lot. Primarily because today. Oh, thank you so much, Sour Lights. Yeah. Wait, where's my subscribe music? Dun 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 dun. Ba-da-da-da. I'll have to fix that after the show. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Sarah, for the subscription. That is really, really awesome. Let's see here. Looks like my stuff is going a little. I'm going to. Yeah, let's see. Yep. Reload the Twitch page on my end. But yeah, I wasn't going. Today is Juneteenth. All right, love Juneteenth. It is an interesting holiday. And it comes with Solar Lights. That's right. Oh, that's why. Solar Lights. All right, cool. Yeah, you were subscribing over on the YouTubes and stuff. Thank you so much. All right, now that I know. Now I know. All right, I know where all my chats and stuff is coming in. That's good. Um, so yeah, this is a thing. And now, Juneteenth is today. Made a federal holiday back in 2019. A lot of folks are really pushing it. They really are. Right? Juneteenth, it's a federal holiday. My sister is with me now, and she works for the federal government. And she's home from work, and I'm like, cool, we gonna paint some minis or something after my show, because that is what I'm about to do. Yeah. I'm not surprised that you were at work, Neon Arlecchino. I know that you live in a place that wouldn't exactly jive with this particular. I said what I said. Now, but I was gonna take the day off. I was gonna chill. I was gonna paint some minis. But a couple things happened that I had to think about. Really, really, really think. And so I was gonna take today to relax and contemplate the things I was thinking about. Some of the stuff that I was checking out and thinking about and kind of bouncing around in my head, right? Um and yeah, now as a lot of y'all know, I saw Into the Spider-Verse last weekend. Okay, and I was shook. Because honestly, never before had I felt that really that seen and recognized and acknowledged. This last weekend, I went to a Blink 182 show. I left a comment for on my Facebook And so that got me thinking. And then I had a little bit of an existential crisis. I was thinking, you know, I have never really felt as though I had a place in my community in the sense of I grew up in the hood, but I had a very, very active family in my life. And I don't mean activism and we weren't on marches and I don't come from the Black Panther Party. But I want to pop off by saying like this is a holiday. Juneteenth is a holiday that is serious in my family because I grew up with my great grandmother. Grew up with my great grandmother in the house. All right, I recently just found a few artifacts. Now, my great grandmother, actually, all my great grandmother, born in the 1890s. Okay, the 1890s. Now, this is really important because the first Juneteenth, okay, was in the 1830s. Now, we're going to go over a history. Y'all know how I always want to put myself out there. Go to an HSBCU. I'm not some serious black scholar. Matter of fact, I went to a state school that offered an African American studies course. Skipped it because I grew up with oral history of the African American experience in the United States, told to me by someone who was born what we call 15 minutes out of slavery. As I said, the first Juneteenth, very first celebration in Jubilee, was in 18 in the 1860s, like 1862, something like that, something like that. That was when the whole 65, 1865, and my great grandmother. So we're talking 30 years. Her mother was a child. During the first shoot. I say 15 minutes out. I mean literally that. Um so yeah, and my family's history is thick, came to California during the Great Migration, but they grew up in Reconstruction in Texas. Like, the Reconstruction, the establishing of Jim Crow, the sharecroppers con. That was, that's the history that I grew up with. Not that was taught to me in school, but was taught to me at my great grandmother's, great grandfather's shop. He spent a lot of time in the garage having the kids. Long sort of story, but ha ha! It's my studio now. Anyway, um, so as I was going, um, so I thought about it, but I kind of had a bit of a crisis when it came down to how I interact with people. Hmm. Yeah, I know. I think it's a unidirectional mic, or I might not have the stereo thing on, so I can make jokes like this now that I know what's up with my mic. There was a whole lot of talk about my sound, but um, so where does this leave me? What am I talking about? Well, um, I've never quite gotten along with the folks in my neck of the woods, right? Because since I was raised by people that were born 15 minutes out of slavery, um, there were there's a lot of history, a lot of theories, a lot of hypotheses that were put down and we were brought up with. Morals of Christianity, of what later came to be known as Pan Africanism, what my great grandmother called her grandmother's, which I still kind of observe in the same way that a lot of people, families' faith in that. But, um, uh, but there was a lot about me. God, I asked a lot of questions, and those questions couldn't be out of me. I'm looking at you Southerners, you rural people, and you people with a tan that's comparable. I'm talking about. I'm wondering, quit asking questions, go outside. That kind of thing. Um, but when I was outside, I had two ride or die peers. Ride or die. I've come to label them as the siblings I chose versus siblings. Not that, my wife is gonna kill them when I ask kingdom. Um, but yeah. And I actually miss adopted brother. But I know that he was a little messed up when I left. Didn't There was no ceremony. I just ran away with the circle. That's what I got up. I'm like, I'm out. But growing up so much, my ethnic bona fides were um were questioned. Okay? And why am I talking about this? I'm getting there. Let me cook. Um, but as all this was coming, I seriously started thinking, and one of the things that popped up in my on Juneteenth of 2020 was my existential crisis along with people that I grew up around, sometimes even my cousins. And again, if you're rural, if you're from the trailer park, the farm, the country, or you share my hue that has the privilege of blushing, y'all know what I'm talking about. And then I think to the modern we now I worked very hard in entertainment, especially in the 90s, to bring my love of stuff to the mainstream, to people, and I did a pretty good job. I like that I was part of the team to open up the anime to the to make people not ashamed to love comic books. You know, um, and I talked to a friend of mine. I found out that a lot of the nerds, geeks, and freaks in my generation, my neck of the woods, they had to let that part die, primarily so that they could get married, have kids, and not die alone. In theory, okay. Being a person who was divorced, I still got my toys. I still make my toys. Y'all watch me make my toys. That's what this whole channel's about, right? Um, and I don't think I'm gonna die alone because I'll always have my toys. My toys will be here. That's right. I can count on my toys. Anyway, um, so like I was saying, um, by the way, I hope you guys can hear me right now. So when all this stuff comes down, when all of it comes down, and I started thinking about the difficulties I had, the fact that even today, a lot of the people that grew up in my neighborhood at the same time that I did are like, man, I can't mess with Solar, man. He uses way, 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 way too many big words. Just I can't. You just too smart. I can't understand what you're saying. And I'm like, ask me what the hell the word means. I read the dictionary. I don't take it as a given that other people's moms had them sit down, read the dictionary at penalty of being beaten with peach branches. If you know, you know. Right? So, anyway, um, but then I think about the newer generations, the people that came after me. The blurs, the black punks, the ones that I'm like, yes, here's your sandwich. Now go change the world. Those people. And the two biggest ones that came up in my head were Jaden and Willa Smith. All right. Now I don't know if this is known outside of the black community, but those two have a reputation for being a little weird. And when I was going through, I guess you could say, my little existential crisis, a friend of mine, I asked if I ever gave off the vibe of certain trash pandas. And he was like, "You know," like, no, no, that's never been you. I'm like, all right, cool, cool, because um, my goal in life is to be the world's best uncle. But you know, my name is Solar, not a few other things. And you know, he brought up the Smith kid. He did. He brought up the Smith kid, but he brought them up from a perspective that I'd never heard and considered, and that brings us Juneteenth and how we interact with them. Because Neon Arlecchino was like, "You're starting to sound like a certain supervillain." Look, supervillains and superheroes, take note, they tend to have the same origin story. It's just they go about being heroes or in relation to their trauma in complete opposite way. Okay? Villains tend to want revenge. Heroes tend to want to those things from happening to someone else. Okay? Um, go ahead, fight me on it. I say, partly Hush and Batman. Think about it. That's right. Now, I'm not the toy man. Could be. I could be. And now. Now, I don't want to make weapons of mass destruction and paint them up Transformers from. Anyway. But he brought up the Smith kid. And he was like, yeah, a lot of people are like, man, Jaden and Willa are Willow are weird and they're this and they're that. And he's like, and this I found out is a really big talking point in the Black entertainment community, which is, are they weird or are you not used to free Black kids? Okay. And I want y'all to think about, like, are they weird or are they not trapped in the mind prison of oppression that America put all that stuff? Because let's face it, their parents are really rich. Like really rich, all right? I mean, if there was a custody battle between Will and Jada, the question is, who is buying, like, what size the house will be that they buy their first kid? Will it be a 3-bedroom or will it be a 10-bedroom? That is the level that they're at. Because Jada never has to work again. Like, if she loses everything, she lands in a bigger house in a better neighborhood than I live in. And Will, let's just say, if I did something that might have ruined my career, like slapping a compatriot or slapping a coworker in front of all of our bosses, and that's really what the Oscars is. My version of being put in the corner to think about what I did would not be flying to the Arctic and taking a walk. All right, we're seriously like, we're on those levels. Okay, incomprehensible wealth. If you grew up like most people did, hell, incomprehensible wealth to young them. Okay, so that's real. All right, that's real. But that being said, Jaden and Willow Smith are two kids that grew up with freedom. Okay, very few things, very few boundaries could be put on them from anywhere in the world outside of their household. Yes, they still had to obey laws, but let's be real. There's so much money in that family, they could hire lawyers to get away with stuff because that's the level of wealth they're at. And I'm like, what does it mean to be free? Okay. Now, this is something that I've contemplated my entire life, given that, I've been reading comic books pretty much since my brother Keanu gave me his collection 7. And I love characters. I also love concepts. And one of my favorite concepts for a superhero was always Mr. Miracle from the New Gods. Um, his power is freedom. He cannot be confined. He can always escape. Okay? And this is also escaping conceptually, right? I did a show about 4 months back on the mind prison that GW has its players in. Not just GW, but Wizards of the Coast as well. the mind prison of this is the game I play. This is what I've invested my time in. I'm not going to play any other game. I don't want to learn any new system. I don't want to learn anything that I haven't already studied. You get what I mean? And I know that a lot of that, because again, I talk to people from all over the world, all around the aisles. Um, the ability to attract large, cute, muscle women is also far from shabby. You know, this is why I don't put you onto your bridge as much as I used. Real talk, Big Barda is my number one comic book crush. Okay, I'm not a Wonder Woman guy. I'm a Big Barda guy. Right under her in DC is Helena Bertinelli, the Huntress. Right under her is Mira of Atlantis. Yeah. So, and of course, right under her is Barbara Gordon. Right? That's where I roll. Don't get me wrong, Vixen's in my top 10. Um, Rocket's in my top 10. You know, that's just I like what I like. Don't get. I said of DC, Storm is Marvel. Don't at anyone's it. Um, you know, anyone's it. But I thought about that. Those kids are free. They are free. Eat and discover anything about themselves. They can literally be whoever it is they want to be at any given time, being armed against the slings and arrows of outrage and or social pressure. My friend actually, he's the father of a 5-year-old. Um, the freedom that they had as children, freedom of wonder and imagination and all that light never extinguished in them in the same way that it was. And I'm like, ooh, ooh. And then I think back. That made me think back to when I was growing up, how I was free to watch Mr. Rogers and all day. I was free to see the good. I was very free to imagine that aspects of what I saw on TV, okay? Not the scenarios, not the superpowers. Exactly. The technology, I knew that was possible. But the other places that were bigger and had more variety and more ideas than being in the hood during the drug wars and the 1980s, or if you're from Baltimore, the early 2000s to present, y'all know what I'm talking. You know, I was free to imagine that. And there's an old saying, freedom isn't free. Okay. Freedom always comes at a cost. What is that cost? The cost that I paid was the inability to be understood by those around me were still in prison. They were confined in their imagination. Um, but one thing I learned from Mr. Miracle, same thing that George Clinton from the Parliament Funkadelic said back in the 70s. I'm going to paraphrase because this is a PG-13 channel. Free your mind, your butt will follow. Right? Now, Solar, what does this have to do with gaming? Everything. Everything. It has to do with gaming. We play games. Uno, Monopoly, whatever. We do that to escape from something that's happening in our reality. However, unless we are free from our own mind prison, the things that confine us follow us into the places and the activities that we enjoy. Right now, I talk all the time, all the time, about how most of my friends are all grognards. Okay, most of my friends are, back in my day, I had to do all this stuff and blah 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 blah, and I don't understand why people don't want to do that now. Like, those times have changed, dude. I remember when every new edition of Dungeons and Dragons came out except fourth because it was a game. I won't talk bad on D&D fourth edition. Okay, there was a lot there. A lot of people liked the game. I wasn't one of them because of the people playing with. People that I was playing with fought against they fought against third edition. There's nothing wrong with losing Thaco. You know. But then they got into third edition, then 3.5, and then when 3.5 went to fourth, they're like, well, I'm going to do Pathfinder. Pathfinder's the game I want to play. And then when fifth edition came out and I went back to Dungeons and Dragons, because I never really enjoyed Pathfinder, um, um, I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I love this, you know? As we speak, people are ramping out for 10th edition Warhammer 40K. And I've been in the Grimdark Future and Grimdark Firefight for a few years now. And I'm like, dude, I love this. Well, no, I like the Warhammer 40K. And I'm like, you're letting the bars of your mind prison bar you from having fun with things that you already, just think about that. All right. And when I talk about my Groknar friend, again, I love them. A lot of them have been my ride or dies. But I see the mind prison. I see the insecurities. I see the time of issues. I see the massive need for therapy in practically everybody I know because I'm therapy and there's no zealot like a convert. That was a dig at me, by the way. So when it came down to that, I really start thinking, what are the other mind prisons that we need to free ourselves from? And all of this idea of freedom came on the anniversary of when the Emancipation Proclamation was finally announced and partly enforced in the state of Texas, which was as far west as the United States went at the time. Okay, that was, it was like, oh yeah, no, by the way, y'all finally get the memo. Y'all free. And it's like, what? We's free? Yeah, y'all free. What? So y'all ain't got to work for him no more, or he's got to pay you. What? Kind of thing. But I think about that, and I think about how free I am and what. Hey, what's going on, Grey Ghost 82? So when it comes to being free, like I said, it comes at cost. One of the biggest costs that I found about freedom is wrapping your head around what it means. Now, this is something that I tend to have a complication with in a lot of aspects of my life. A lot. Gaming table to relationships is that I am wacky in my freedom. Okay. I am free. I flow into infinity. That is what I do. And when I'm teaching people how to play games, I get what I like to call the confined mindset. Well, would it be okay if or can I do this? Can I? And well, I can't tell you what I'm going to do because you're going to counter me. They are in a mind prison, the worst kind of mind prison. It is the mind prison that if you've ever taken an art class, you know what I'm talking about. The prison that's the prison of platitudes and insincerity. You can do practically whatever you want, just not that. Whatever that is, whatever it is that you're thinking, whatever idea that you just had, no. They're coming in from that prison. If you've been to art school or writing or just dealt with a lot of people or even started a new job, y'all know that prison. And that brings up a lot of. And it was interesting. I didn't realize that I was being made. Although my whole life, my family was like, well, you've just got a free spirit. I'm like, what does that mean? I hear free spirit. I think hippie. And as much as I want to do more LSD, I don't have that much LSD. I don't do enough LSD to be considered a hippie. Although I do like tie dye. Maybe I am a hippie. I don't know. I am. I am. But the thing is, it's bigger than that. Freedom of thought, freedom of imagination. It's stamped down, especially in our regards in games, with reliable routine and competitive culture. Okay. Yeah. See, you didn't think I was going there, huh? Huh. All right. But yeah. See, the real freedom is here. Real freedom is here. And I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. My freedom has always been weird. There have been a lot of people in my life that seemed, hey, what's going on, Lord Pretty Bear? Um, there have been a lot of people in my life seems to define themselves by whether or not they can. I'm talking bosses, um, significant others of my friends. Just yeah. And don't get me wrong, I am at one time the world's best uncle, and at the other time the world's worst best friend. I am like the captain of the significant other side eye, which is why I'm always a little when I'm hanging out with old friends and I meet their new wives, that kind of thing. Um, uh, you know, but yeah. So when that stuff comes down, when it comes down to confining yourself in some sort of mind prison, the let's take role playing games. Okay, let's just take role playing games to start off with. But we're gonna go through every type of game, or every yes, Captain Significant Other Side Eye. That Soze. Oh my God, would I be the Kaiser of Soze? If you know, you know. Um, yeah. Um. Anyway, that was a good one, Neon. Um. Let's talk about role playing game Prison Confinement. Um. Now, I want to make clear there's a difference between rules, um, and being creative and being free thinking and being chaos. Because a lot of people think that freedom is chaos. And it's like, no, dude, no, no. I'm not going to say that I want to kill one little mayor. No, it's not about that. All right. But when you're playing a tabletop RPG, especially with Grocknar, leave a heart in the comments if you've been at tables and people try to tell you how to build your character. Okay. Um, if you're playing a wizard, why aren't you taking prestidigitation? You need to take a combat spell. You need to do that. Have to take this. You're a barbarian. You have to be good with this weapon. You have to do that. You have to play your game like this. You can't. If you're playing somebody with no intelligence, then you have to act like an idiot. That kind of thing. Versus knowing what the rules are. Yeah. See, Neon knows what I'm talking about. You see this a lot in a lot of old places. People going, well, I want to play the game that I want to play, and I don't care if you are at the table. And I'm going, okay, if you want to play with me, then you have to let me play. I was trying to make friends with somebody once, and he had Zombicide. And the whole time he was telling me where to move my character, what weapons to use. And I'm like, dude, do you want to play with me, or am I just an extra set of your hands? I'm gonna move this character where I feel like moving this character. I might see something that you don't. Needless to say, he and I ain't friends. But um but yeah, a lot of the times people put themselves in prison of the meta, um, these standard strategies. If you're playing a tabletop miniatures game, all right? Um, I've been looking at the new stuff from Warhammer 10th edition, especially since the points just came. And I'm like, ooh, list building. This is one of the things I like to do. And I see so many videos of like, well, why wouldn't you take that weapon? Blah, 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 blah. Excuse me. And I'm just like, really? Like, so you're putting together the army for other people to use. In your opinion, they shouldn't have published the other 38 pages in the book because nobody's going to play this and nobody wants to see that. Same with card game, you know. Um and this is a really big mind prison based on a massive lack of imagination and okay. Now, I want to for all of you guys that are new, I really want to define courage. Right? When I talk about courage on this channel, in person, whatever, what I mean is doing what you want to do or what you feel you must, even though you're afraid to do it. It doesn't mean not being afraid. It means being afraid and doing it anyway. That is courage, for better or ill. Okay. And verbing it anyway is pretty much the foundation. I mean, it's almost like my house words, because a friend is somebody that knows everything about you and likes you anyway. um, you know, um, Sometimes despite it, but yeah, they like you anyway. And I know practically everything about the people. I'm friends with them because I like them, even though even though I disagree with them, even though sometimes they are cruel, even though um you know or I choose to like them anyway. So, you know, so how does one conceptualize, and how does one put that freedom? Okay, that's a big one. Now, understand this. Free to act does not mean free from consequence. All right? I believe in natural consequence. If you throw a glass into a concrete wall as hard as you can and have the capability of picking up a 5-pound weight, that glass will probably shatter and shards of glass will be everywhere. Natural consequence, actions that are taken. If a barefoot person with very thin to no calluses on the bottom of their feet step on a piece of sharded glass, then they will be cut and a mess will be made. Those are just natural consequences, right? Um, and there's a difference between a natural consequence and punishment. And I don't believe in punishment. I really don't. I believe in fixing the problem, solving the problem, and education, and not punishment as a tool for education, because there are loads and loads and loads and loads of study. Google is free. Look them up. Reputable studies from reputable peer-reviewed studies from major universities all over the planet that states that punishment as a means of education is not efficient. Okay, there are better ways. And thanks to this thing called the internet, which lets me have my own TV show, getting that information is not as difficult as it was 30 years. Um, but yeah, there's a certain amount of bravery that is required. Um, and that's a big thing. Freedom can be frightening. All right. Um, like historically speaking, when people were freed, we were scared to death of the time because it's not like we were given resources and land or money or anything. We were just free from not being. Now, going out and build a life with nothing, sick family, injured family, both psychological and um, you know, um, a lot of the times, being free to do is really, 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 really overwhelming. Okay? I talk to a lot of people. Overwhelmed seems to be the not buzz, but action word for the 21st century. It really, and I get it. When I look at my chores, I know what overwhelmed is like. How did it get this messed up? I'm gonna be doing dishes until 2045. Why do I have so many dishes? I get it. Okay, I totally understand. Um, I know when I'm trying to teach people RPGs, especially those from my neck of the woods, because creative writing, um, and most of the arts, were the first things cut from our budgets when we were kids in school. We were never taught to think. Okay, we had to have the same taste in music as everybody else in the neighborhood, or we were gonna get messed up. We had to dress a certain way, else we were gonna get messed up. Or at least um, clowned to the point where suicide ideation became a real thing, right? Again, look it up. Um, so we didn't really have freedom of expression. Not to mention, the socio-political consequence. And a lot of people don't have freedom of expression in a lot of walks of life. They really don't. Social pressures, economic viability. Um, Oh yeah, yeah. No, really, Lord Prettybeard. Self-expression is one of the most important things in adolescent development because biochemically, adolescenthood is the time where the brain starts to differentiate itself from the rest of its elders. Okay, this is why teenage rebellion ill because the hormones out there are trying to make us go, hey, what is life? Who are we? Who do we want to be? This is who we were told we were supposed to be, but I don't know if that works for me. From the moment I could talk, I was ordered to listen. Now there's a way, and I know that I have to go away. You know, real talk, I almost got my butt kicked in my neck of the woods for even knowing that song. um, and so yeah, this is like real stuff and real talk. It invades us in a lot of different places. My older brother, the martial arts master, no exaggeration, once told me about the prices that adulthood told. He was just determined to do a whole bunch. A lot of stuff I like, I love, and a lot of things that I need. But if I get in this world, I might have to give up all of those important to hold one thing. He holds on to his martial arts, so he thinks. He also holds on to a lot of other things. Um, but yeah, so the fact is, um, that freedom of expression, that light that's inside of us, that sense of freedom in our own imagination. Real talk, this is one of the reasons that I keep enough money. But if you want to help with that, I'm putting up some links for some donations and the Patreon and the merch store. No, curses. Gotta start just using the shortcuts for a reason. There you go. I just put, excuse me. Yeah, just put up that stuff in the two chats between YouTube and Twitch. There you go. If you want to throw in a donation, that's totally great. But yeah, so on this Juneteenth, all right, I don't care if you're not a descendant of the transatlantic mandatory unpaid intern. I want you guys to think about, right? And what ways are either you not free or are the people around you not free? Now, that's my call to action in this video. Hey, thanks, Call of Fortnite. Yeah, that's my call to action in this video. All right. Call of action that I wanted to do was like, to be like, hey, if the next really big one was gonna be what was the other call to action gonna be? Oh, yeah. And what can you do to help free them, to help facilitate and all that stuff? But the real talk is um the biggest part of being free. Okay. So much more in the interest of hearing your full. Yeah, I'm trying, guys. I may just have to get a new mic. Uh, yeah. Ooh boy. Yep, yep, yep. Yep, yep, yep. You know, one of my favorite rappers from the ancient days. Um, yeah. Um, seriously had a song called "The Microphone Fiend," but I know my microphone is a fiend sometimes. It might be time for me to get a new mic or a new cable. I'm not sure. I hope this will work. I hope this is work. Um, but yeah. And again, there's a donate page to help me get better gear. It's one of the things I got to do. Um, but yeah, so when it comes down to those particular things, understand that I spend a lot of my time trying to show people what freedom looks like and help helping to free them. But one of the things my old occult mentors was the hardest part about breaking brainwashing is for the patient to understand that they have been. And that's a tough one. That is really a tough one because we hold on to a lot of that stuff out of particular identity, out of culture, out of just a bunch of different things. Um, out of tradition or cultural, you know. But really, what does it mean to be free? On the day to commemorate um the emancipation of human beings that were once owned by others and not considered human beings. Consideration of our humanity, that is a long, long, long conversation that I tend to have Tuesday nights down by the docks. All right. Uh, um, let me see here. I'm also trying to fix this whole mic thing 'cause everybody's talking to me about the mic. Um, no, my expansion, noise gain, compressor. Let me get a higher attack here. Ratio. Let me just pump up the ratio. Noise gate. Oh, that might be it. All right. So, um, no need to throw your resume at me, dude. um, I'm doing what I can, and I actually appreciate the fact that the way that you told me my mic was out. A lot of the times on this channel, if there is like one thing wrong, that's all the comment section will be, and then that pressure to stop the show and fix everything comes down. It's tough. I used to do it, but then my entire shows became everyone in the comments throwing in their 2 cents on how I can make my show better right then, right there, with the expectation of me acquiescing to them. So when you've got 14 or 15 people saying, do it now, do it now, do what I say right now, it gets kind of big. I know. And like I said, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm also giving you guys just a little bit of background of why I might be salty when people tell me about my tech issues. Um, Again, I'm doing the best I can. Doing the best I can. So there is also, because I'm pretty sure this is a unidirectional mic, but because this is a studio condenser mic, but it's also kind of old. And yeah, so anyway, anyway, like I was saying, um, thank you. All right, see, I just had to make a few adjustments. So, all right. Um, so yeah, think about that level of freedom. Think about freedom as a concept if you're not from my culture. Okay. What does it mean to be free? Why is it important? And how have you been shackled to culture, ideas, the right way to do something? What makes it right? What are the measuring tools? You know, that was always one of my big questions. Someone's like, well, if you want to be good at this game, you got to play it like this. Define good. Not lose all the time. But if I have fun playing and I lose, I'm happy with the Pyrrhic victory. Um, I'm gonna tell you guys a story about my days playing the Lord of the Rings collectible card game from Decipher. These cards actually came out in accordance with the Steve Jackson movies. Or sorry, sorry, Peter Jackson movies. Okay, um, and they followed the plot of the movies, and it was cool. They even used like pictures from the movies, like character shots and stuff like that. Decipher had actually gone into partnership with New Line and Weta, and it was great. All right. Um, and I was working at a game store. Now, my manager, okay, my manager was weird and awesome. And when I say weird, he was horribly good at Magic. Like Magic the Gathering was his jam, okay? So much so, like he just did it, okay? He did that thing. Not in a savant kind of way. All right? Um but yeah, this was a dude, he was literally world championship class of a Magic the Gathering player, but he never competed. Okay, he never competed. He was in a little bitty store in Fullerton, and I'm like, wait, you literally are the Asian guy that essentially works in a cave. And he's like, huh, never thought about it like that, but yeah. And um and literal world champions, okay? People who had already won the world championships of Magic the Gathering got the $100,000 check for winning, for showing that that year at least they were the number one Magic the Gathering player on the planet in the competitive scene. They would go to that store looking for him, and you could totally hear the reverb boots clanking across the very thin carpet, and you could hear somebody in the back whistling. Wah, wah, wah. Generally because I was that guy. And they would come into the store. Hey, I hear you're the Magic guy. you know? And he is just really good at mathematics, statistical probability, and what he called the shui of building a deck. All right. And when I got him into War Machine, he applied the same principles. It was just, he was just good at games, and he's still just good at games. And the interesting thing, though, was after I started getting my teeth kicked in from everybody else that I taught how to play the Lord of the Rings collectible card games, my decks were just not up there because their decks were tournament competitive and mine was fun. And he's like, well, let me work on your Gandalf deck. And he did. And I played it, and I won a couple of times. I lost a couple of times, but I was not having fun. It was so efficient and streamlined, blah, blah, blah. But I wasn't having fun. I didn't feel immersed in the world of Lord of the Rings. I didn't feel like I was Gandalf making decisions. I felt like I was a guy playing cards. So, you know, I wasn't having fun. And he's like, you looked like you were having a lot more fun playing your deck the way that you're playing it. I'm like, I was. I didn't mind losing all the time. I wanted to learn how to get a little better, but I didn't want this. Um, and that was the thing. I had been confined into one certain way of playing, and it just killed me. I wasn't having fun playing as a tournament player. I did pretty good as a judge. Um, but yeah, it really was that. I remember I gave away a card because the way that I did prize support was I had 4 tiers of prizes, and anybody that won in those places, they picked a prize at random. And one of the dudes was like, "Oh, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted this one." Excuse me. So I gave him one out of my collection because I had it and I didn't play that faction. And my boss was mad. He's like, it looked like favoritism. You gave him a really powerful card for his deck and blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. What'd I do? And he's like, wait, you weren't trying to give him an advantage? I'm like, dude, I don't play tournament. I don't think on your mindset when it comes to this. He was really bummed that he didn't get the card he wants. I didn't ask why he wanted it, so I gave him my personal one because I'm not going to use it. And he's like, well, this is what the problem was. This is what it looks like, and this is how it reflects on the store. And I'm like, oh, did not know that. Honestly, I really shouldn't have quit that job, but I didn't quit it on bad terms. I just got a better offer for somewhere else that was offering me $2 more an hour, full time hours, and full benefits. And I'm like, oh, well, you know. Um, and so yeah, it really was. Um, I was in a different prison of I like freedom of expression. And a lot of the times freedom itself can be some sort of trap. Because again, layers and layers and Venn diagrams and all that other stuff. But the biggest thing that I'm trying to get across to you guys, okay, is what does freedom mean? How do you express it? Um, mm, you know, how do you express it? What are the ways that you're not free that you might want to be? You know, on this day of Juneteenth, there was no question in my people on how they wanted to be free. There was no question. We knew we didn't want what we had. We wanted that to stop. All right, it would be really nice to be able to have children from your own husband and to raise your own children without them being taken from you and sold. But that is for a meeting tomorrow night down by the docks. All right, but um, you know, in my head, in my heart, there's always been a sense of freedom. All right. A sense of wonder, of magic, of imagination. You kind of need that to be a wizard. um, so I know what it means and I know what it's cost. So far, there are lots of costs that I see, and there's probably a lot of costs that I don't see, especially when I bump up against the people in my circles and in my life that aren't free, that are combined by idea or confined by ideas that aren't theirs, that don't live up to their own experiences. They're in a lot of different mental prisons and emotional prisons. All right. And again, one of the reasons that I have these talks with you guys is to try and free you huh? um, from a lot of the ideas that you might be holding on in your gaming experiences that aren't serving the purpose that you play for, whatever that purpose is. And I don't mean to win, I mean that deeper purpose. Okay, you know, that sense of escapism or that escape of wish fulfillment or that thought of, well, I want to play games because I'd like to do something with my time other than look at TikTok and feel the calendar slowly turn as I realize that half of these people haven't been alive as long as I've had back problems, that kind of thing. So yeah, I want you guys to think about that. And if Neon or Fortnite will put the Discord thing back in the chat, you guys can hit me up and in the Discord and talk to me. On this channel, not very far, Lord Prettybeard. However, all right. I'm thinking about putting a politics discussion channel on the Discord. Probably putting it behind some kind of wall, like an invite wall or something like that. Because a lot of people want to talk to me about stuff like this, and I'm like, I don't know if you want to talk to me about this. People who talk to me about this stuff never leave the conversation happy. But you can always, and I mean this, you can always send me an email or contact me at backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK @gmail.com. You can also hit me up over at Twitter and Instagram, also at backinthedeck. You can always, how can I put this? Reach out to me on the TikToks, TikTok. My following is so small, nobody knows what conversations I'm having on all that stuff, but help me out with that. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, do all those things, because I have to please the Lord algorithm, and algorithm hates long form content. Hates it. And long form content is my jam because I hate editing, but I am doing some editing for my Patreon and all that stuff. You can also hit me up if you really want to talk about stuff and know what's going on and all that stuff. Then hit me up on the Facebook group Deckers on the Book. Unless you are under 12 years old, I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts that you still have a Facebook account. All right. Even if you were a Tumblr kid, you probably have a Facebook account or a Facebook Messenger account or something that you don't use. So hit your email, find out thing, and join the group. Show us what you're building and all that stuff. But with all that being said, guys, I want you to have a very good day. Thank you for joining me on this Juneteenth. Celebrate your freedom, but first, think about it. Yeah, think about your freedom. How have you benefited from it? How has it been a burden? You know, and what does it mean to truly be free? Okay. But with all that, I got to say thank you guys for showing up. Have fun. And if anybody tells you that you can't have the hobbies that you have or like what you like because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, your disabilities, or your budget, you just look at them. Oh, and your neurodivergences. You just look at them and tell them to take whatever card they're trying to play on you and put it back in the deck. This is Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, saying thank you for joining me today, and we will see you next time on the dark side of the room.